everyone for gathering. Before we begin our service, I want to first place this Kriya ribbon on the jacket. With a torn heart, a sadness that we are here today for this funeral of our beloved Ethel Bellows, a mother, a grandmother, a friend, a wife, to so many. She, with her elegance and with her beauty and grace, she made us feel part of something really wonderful, being in her orbit, her space. And she lived a very, very long life. She was blessed with many years, and we were blessed to be with her for many years. Though sometimes we say when someone has such a long life that it's hard to be sad, it's not the truth. It is sad. It is sad when we lose someone precious to us. And so we look to our traditions to offer us comfort and solace in this time. So we will listen to the words of our psalms, our tradition for that purpose. We will hear words of memory, and we will offer rituals of love and kindness that we will do for Ethel's to bring her to this final resting place. Continue with the singing of Psalm 23. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar, milot asher yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenachaleni. Nafshi yeshover, nafshi yeshover, yamcheni b'maglei tzedek leman shemo, gam ki elech begetz hamavet, lo hirara hi ata imadi, shivtecha umishantecha, shivtecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni, taroch lefanai shulchan, taroch lefanai shulchan, taroch lefanai shulchan, neged sorai, nishanta v'shemen roshi, dishanta v'shemen roshi, dishanta v'shemen roshi, kosi revaya, ach tov v'chesed, Yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, Veshavti bebeit Adonai, Veshavti bebeit Adonai, leorech yamim. English, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me to lie down in green pastures. God leads me beside the still waters. God restores my soul. God leads me in the paths of righteousness for the sake of God's name. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you art with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It's my honor. I'd like to invite Pirette, who has been not only a loving daughter-in-law to Ethel for many years, but really her constant here in Vancouver. Microphone's not working, so
It doesn't matter, I speak loud. Last night I sat down and I thought to myself, I should make some notes about what I wanted to say, but it seemed to me to be so contrary to the spirit of Ethel to write notes about her. And I decided to do it on the cuff. I met her in October 1964, and it was a beautiful sunny day in Vancouver, and I, for the first time in my life, experienced what good cooking was all about. It was quite a revelation for me. And you know, we came from different worlds. She grew up in Poland, I grew up in France, but there was something that bound us very much to each other through a lot of things, through misunderstandings, through love, through time. And it was the fact that we both had experienced what it was like to live with the floor unsteady under your feet, metaphorically, of course. She, as a young woman, as a teenager and a young woman in Poland, and I as a baby and a little girl in France. We knew how ephemeral things were. We knew that in a second everything could be taken from you. And it bound us in a very important way, because on this level she and I understood each other perfectly. And it cut through everything that wasn't always positive, because we had this deep, deep bond of Jewishness between us. That we knew that because we were born Jews, we were born marked, and yet we felt so privileged that this was given to us. And Ethel and I, we shared so many moments together, and she loved Jewish jokes. She loved her family with a passion. And Annette, she was crazy about you, whatever you thought she was. And she loved her grandchildren, and she loved cooking, and she loved talking about all the great restaurants she had been to. But what really was the most important to me in my relationship with her was the fact that she knew how to seize the moment. She knew how to have fun and laugh when the occasion presented itself. And that was something that so many of us don't know how to do anymore. And as she got older, she stopped projecting into the future, and she lived into the moment in a way that was so lovely and made you kind of stop and think about what it meant even if you were still more compos mentis than she became, what it was like to live in the moment. And this is an important lesson, I think, that she gave us. Anyways, I shall miss you, old friend, really, until I myself die. And thank you for the memories, Ethel. You were lovely. Oops.
Thank you so much, Pirette.
You're welcome. It came from my heart, for sure.
I could tell. We have a saying in Jewish tradition, whenever someone celebrates a birthday, that they should live ad 120, or in Yiddish, bis 120, to 120. This was, of course, the age of Moshe when he died right before the Israelites entered the Promised Land. And it's a symbolic number, of course. The expectation that anyone would live to such an advanced age is mostly untenable, though Ethel got pretty close. The main idea, though, behind this idea to wish someone to live to 120, to 120, is that we understand this to be a signifier of a full life. We know all too well that too many lives are cut short of their full potential. And today, though we, as I mentioned, are gathered in sadness to say farewell to Ethel, our funeral is also one of recognition of the many blessings of her 102 years of lifespan. For she not only lived a life of many, many years, but one of fullness that would most certainly qualify as this notion of ad 120. Not to say it was without hardship or pain, but hers was one that encompassed the fullness of the human experience and was met with humor, grace, style, and most importantly, love. Ethel was born in Poland in 1922, living through really one of the most turbulent times in Jewish history. The experiences of her generation are so well known and at the same time so difficult to imagine. But when we think about her life, one individual life, her experience of one family, we recognize how remarkable truly was the life that she built. Ethel's grandparents were Hasidim in Poland, and her parents wanted something different for her. They sent her to the modern Haskalah school of the Shomer Atzair. She was actually planning to make Aliyah when the winds of war were approaching. And the family escaped to Siberia for 3 years, followed by 4 years in Bukharia. And when the war ended, they decided to return to Poland, but found when they got there, it was all different. Not a person was left whom they knew before the war. There were other people living in their house, and life was difficult. Ethel was working in a factory in Poland to move on toward life, and she met a Jewish businessman who was there visiting from Antwerp. It was, of course, William Bellows. A week later, they were married. William was able to smuggle Ethel out of Poland. Eventually, they made their way here to Canada in 1950, Albert and Annette. I understand that the two of them had a very beautiful and happy marriage. That they were devoted to one another, and built a life and a family full of love and gratitude. They were grateful to find love after the war, to have an opportunity to embrace life and rebuild. Together, they prioritized opportunities to see the world, spent a lot of time traveling. Summers were spent in Europe as a family, and once the kids were grown, the two of them spent extensive time in India, as well as visiting other parts of the world. Together, Ethel and William built a warm home. In many ways, thanks to Ethel's tremendous cooking that you spoke of. She learned a cordon bleu technique and people would vie for invitations to meals at her table. The house was always full of good food and friends, music and refinement. Ethel was beautiful and elegant. She was adored by everyone who knew her. To you, her children and grandchildren, I know many of you are watching from Israel, I pray that the love and admiration that she had for you and that you reflected back to her in so many meaningful ways will always be of a sweet memory and comfort to you in all that you do. Certainly, Ethel experienced myriads of changes in her lifetime, but she also, I'm sure, found that important things stayed the same. There are enduring and timeless blessings in having health and family, education, culture, good food. All of you who are here today know the impact that Ethel had upon so many over the course of her long life. Jewish tradition asks what is enduring in the world and answers a Shem Tov, a good name. May Ethel's name continue to bring a smile to our faces, and the memory of her good name always be a blessing in our world. Yehי zichra baruch.
Amen.
We're going to now continue with the chanting of the El Malei Rachamim, this prayer in which we ask that God receive her soul and guard it for all time.
Good name. The next word is your good name.
El Malei Rachamim shochen במרומים עמסי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה עם קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת אתל בת ישראל יהושע והינדה שהלכה לעולמה. בעל הרחמים יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוח בשלום על משכבה ונאמר Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Ethel Bat Yisrael Yoshua Vehinda, our beloved Ethel Bellows, who has entered eternity. God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. Together we say, Amen. We're going to continue now with the lowering of the casket and the burial. People can come a bit closer. צור תמים פועלו בכל דרכיו משפט, אל אמונה ואין עוול צדיק וישר הוא. צור תמים בכל פועל, מי יאמר לו מה תפעל? שליט במטל ומעל, מי תחיה? הוריד שאול ויעל, הצור תמים כל מעשה, מי יאמר לו מה תעשה? צדיק אתה אדוני להעמיד ולהחיות, אשר בידך פקדון כל רוחות. חלילה לך זיכרוננו למחות, יהיו נא עיניך ברחמים עלינו למחות, כי לך אדון הרחמים תחס. act of chesed that we do for Ethel, for her physical form, is to bury her. Of course, hard thing to do, but one that we do out of our love and devotion for her. So we invite Annette if you would be so good. Others are able to help out. There are shovels on both sides. Friends, we're going to gather together once more. Before we recite the Mourner's Kaddish, I want to share a poem. It's on the inside of the program if you'd like to follow. When I die, if you need to weep, cry for someone walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around others and give them what you need from me. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands and souls touch souls. You can love me most by sharing your joys, multiplying your good deeds. You can love me most by letting me live in your eyes and not in your mind. And when you say Kaddish for me, remember what our Torah teaches. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me hope. And those who choose to join in these words of Hadishatam.
having a session on the end of our books.
Memory always be a blessing. So as we prepare to now leave the cemetery and return to this period of Shiva, we say to you, Annette, to all of you on the so that on all of the mourners inside Jersey.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Lonely out. I really appreciate it. I know that everybody really loved me. Really a good cook. She was so many years. And David, you know, all of us 6 years.
That's 5.
That's 5. David, I think you also. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you for being here.